What were some of my biggest lessons traveling full time for 15 months, world schooling our kids all over Southeast Asia? And this video I'm really excited about because I get to share kind of the insights, getting to know like the other side of what it was like after having traveled for over a year full time and what that was like as a family. I have 4 boys, and you may be already following me and kind of know our story. We decided to just leave our sort of traditional life because we always wanted to travel, and we thought, why don't we take the kids before they're all out of school? Our kids just were the right ages. We let go of our jobs and we decided to give it a shot. I'm here to tell you what it's like having done all of it, having been back. We are now back. My husband's back to a 9 to 5. I'm here to tell you sort of what probably world schoolers won't tell you. I'm in a lot of groups. I talk to a lot of people. I met up with many world schoolers all around Southeast Asia and in our travels in different countries. And we would all find each other, and it was adorable and kind of like a blind date all the time. Our kids would play together, and we all had that same need. I want to share with you some insights, some behind the scenes, some things that, on social media and on my channel, I did the same thing. Is you're going to see all the highlights. You're going to see all of those fun, heartwarming moments, beautiful sunsets. You're going to see the beach. You're going to see us traveling and getting on airplanes, and all of that was life-changing, and we grew along the way, and it was absolutely phenomenal, and we loved it, and we have absolutely no regrets. And I would encourage anyone to take a big family trip, even if it's for a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months, or do a family gap year. I would totally and highly encourage that. But I do want to tell you that there is a duality to absolutely everything you do in life, whether it's deciding how to school your kids, deciding what type of life you're going to live, what type of job you have. Everything has downsides. Everything has upsides. Everything has downsides. And before we left, I said, I know when we travel, we're going to have higher highs and lower lows. It's going to be crazy in a different country every month, or in a different city every month, in a different place, Airbnb. Most of what we did was Airbnbs. And so I know it's going to be crazy, and we're going to have some times that are not great and kind of tough. But I know we're going to have some amazing experiences, and I couldn't just not do it. Like, I had to do it. I had to do it. And my husband, we both felt like we had to do it. I don't know how we both ended up. I had my reasons for traveling. He had his reasons for traveling. And they were different. They were different from each other. So I'll have to do a video on that at some point, because I'm not actually a big travel person. I know you're shocked, but I am a big family person, and spending time with family and memories and experiences and documenting. And that's what led me to make so many videos about our travels. But I want to say, I want to talk about all of the things we went for and how there's actually a downside to absolutely everything that we went for. So not this video is going to be a downer, but I want you to see all sides of it, and the side that never gets seen, that never gets talked about. We went for family time. We wanted to travel. We wanted to have the adventure. We wanted to try different foods. My husband, that was like top of his list. He wanted to try all the different authentic foods in every country. He wanted to go to the beach and not have a schedule and not be tied down to a 9 to 5 and sort of work remotely. Let's give it a try. Let's go see. Sometimes you can get in life, it can get too like you're on autopilot. It can be too restricting. You can feel too strapped down that you just want to spread your wings. And that's how we felt, sort of in an extreme way. I was homeschooling for 2 years before we left. And if you are a homeschool mom, it's very difficult to homeschool, stay with your kids, constantly being that person who is entertaining them, feeding them, schooling them, meeting all of their needs, and creating a schedule for them, basically. And my husband was at his job and he was very tired and overtaxed and just wanted to spread his wings. So we went for it. We decided to book 6 one-way tickets to Thailand. So I'll start with the first thing. The first thing we wanted was family time. We felt like working the 9 to 5, we're all sort of separate, doing our own things. The kids were in school before, and I pulled them out of school for certain reasons, it was COVID, things like that. I started homeschooling them, but we all felt sort of disconnected. Me and the boys were very close, but we didn't see dad as much as we wanted to. And so we wanted to have time with dad. We wanted to have family experiences. I wanted to be there to teach my kids real world experiences. And some people say that travel is the best education. And I would have to say, I agree with that. But as we were traveling, the family time got to be too much. I'm gonna fully say it was too much family time. We were around each other constantly, and we all wanted our own space, and we found ways of doing that. And there's always ways of doing that. And we had so many times, and we're so close. We're all very close. But I would say it was a relief to get back to Texas, to get back to America. The boys are now in public school, if you've been following, and they're enjoying it. They're enjoying having their own sort of separate autonomy, figuring out life on their own. Mom's not over their shoulder, having their own consistent friends, which is also a downside to traveling full-time, and that's one we knew about. I'll touch on that at the end. Community, I know, is difficult when you're traveling full-time, and it was. I'm actually kind of good at it, and it was still difficult. And so I'll go on to my next one. We wanted to travel and explore and adventure, and our eyes were opened, and once they're opened, they can't be shut again. We have a knowing, and we love that. But after 15 months, it was kind of exhausting. It's kind of a part-time job. I spent most all of my free time finding community, finding a place to live. Where are we going to live in a month, 2 months, 3 months out? We would usually do 2 or 3 months out. I was feeling really good if we were booked 3 months out. But then there's this anxiety that, oh my gosh, where are we going to live? What country are we going to go to next? What are the rules? What are the visa requirements? Things like that. It was a part-time job, which I was not expecting. You think, oh, I'm going to travel full time. I'm going to spend a lot of time on the beach. Spend a lot of time, meditating and doing yoga on the beach or whatever. I will say I never did that. I never got to do that. And that's because anytime I went somewhere, I needed to take the kids so that Jeremy could work. And I will say that most people who are traveling full time, one of the partners is working full time. The other one is either part time or they're just handling the kids. And with 4 boys, there's a lot of needs. My job was to homeschool the kids, which is a job in and of itself. Homeschool the kids, figure out travel itinerary, what we're going to do, where the communities are, when we do get somewhere, where's the grocery store? How do you get to the attractions? What are the attractions? Do we want to do the attractions? How much do they cost? So a lot of the things that I was doing when we were traveling was handling, making sure the kids get out twice a day or once a day, or go down to the pool or take them somewhere, entertain them, things like that. And I'm a big proponent that kids don't always have to be, entertained. They can be bored. That's good for them. But it's a little bit more difficult in a sort of condo situation. It's a little bit more difficult when you don't know anybody, when they can't go to a friend's house, when you have to drive them everywhere. I was full-time taking care of the kids. One of the things that Jeremy did was he did handle almost every meal. We would go out to dinner, he would research, and we did a lot of researching, and a lot of times it was in a different language. So like, let's say we're in Vietnam and we want to go out to eat. Okay, well, maybe there's some pizza places. Okay, we can do that like a couple times. But if you eat American food, it was like twice as expensive, or 3 times. So if you eat local food, so in Vietnam, you're having banh mi sandwiches, or noodles was their big thing, pho, then you can eat for really cheap, but then you have to like figure out, okay, how do you do that on, we did have a Grab, which is sort of like Uber Eats, and they would bring you food if you could figure it out, if you could find what you wanted to eat. The other thing is, anytime you're making food for a family of 6, not everybody agrees what to eat. Yes, it's fun trying all the different food, but it's hard to find the food a lot of times, and it's hard to find something that everyone's gonna like in a family of 6. Your kids don't always want to try weird foods, and my kids are very adventurous, most of them, but a lot of times they just want something simple, and a lot of times it ended up being, you know, fried rice, chicken fried rice or pork fried rice. That was in every country we went to, but you know, there's only so many times you can eat that. And a lot of places we went, they had like McDonald's, and they had like chicken nuggets. They had KFC a lot. We're there to try the different foods, but it wasn't always like, oh, like, you know, we're working, we're homeschooling, we're just doing day-to-day life. And now we got to go find whatever weird food we're going to have for that day. And I have a strict diet. I'm on a strict diet. I couldn't always find what I wanted to eat. And so then we're going to the grocery store. So while it's really fun to have the exciting foods, and it's like, why is this not in America? This is wonderful. I love this food. On the other hand, sometimes it's weird food, and sometimes you can't just find something easy and simple. So sometimes it's too much family time. Sometimes it's weird food. Sometimes traveling, adventuring, doing all that stuff, it sounds so exciting, but sometimes it's not boring enough. And you know, sometimes you don't want to go exploring. Sometimes you just want to be normal. And it can be very, very overstimulating and tiring. Oh, okay, I'm going to go into a new grocery store you know how like when you go in the grocery store and like they change the aisle that the ketchup was on? Well, when you're changing countries every time, you're going to a different grocery store and everything's in a foreign language. And then you try a couple of different ones, and just when you get comfortable with, oh, this one had good prices and I found some stuff that was normal for me, then we would just move after that. And so we didn't have the luxury of just running to the store real quick. One of the great things, and this is really quick, this isn't even on my list, is we just took Grab taxis everywhere. And that's what people do. There's a lot of public transportation, and there's a lot of Grab taxis over in Southeast Asia. It's very inexpensive. It's great. Navigating that can be a little challenging. Grab it was quite easy. It was just like Uber mostly, and we never needed to talk to the driver. Sometimes the driver would talk to us in English, and sometimes we would have to use our translation apps, and most of the time they were just quiet, and we would just get in their car and then get out. You know, it's really nice not having to have a car, pay for a car, have maintenance on a car, get gas. I didn't have to do any of that. And then when we would get dropped off at the mall or park or wherever we were going, grocery store, we wouldn't have to figure out where we parked. We could just call another Grab. So that was all great. But what's not great is sometimes it just feels inconvenient to get in someone else's car or ask somebody to come pick you up. Most of the time the wait was about you could get a Grab taxi, depending on what country. In Vietnam, you could get a Grab taxi in 2 minutes. So by the time you walk down to the curb, they're there. And then in other countries like KL, it took like 15, 20 minutes sometimes every time you needed a ride somewhere. And so, especially if you need a 6-seater. If you needed sometimes we would get 2 4-seaters for the 6 of us, just because there was more, supply of that type of car. 6-seaters were less, because most people, we had a large family. You didn't see a lot of families walking around with 4 kids. You didn't. The next thing is exploring and adventure. It's so great. It sounds so amazing. You get out into nature, you go into a different country, you get to see all of these new and exciting things. And like I mentioned before, it can get a little overstimulating. It can get to be kind of a lot where you need a lot of downtime, but also it can feel a little bit more dangerous. And we never felt like we were in danger. Not even once did I feel like I was in danger. There was this one time where we lost Alex on the subway. That was scary and horrifying in KL. But other than that, we felt totally safe, but it can feel, it feels a little bit like you're out in the wild. You're not in your comfort zone. You're out of your comfort zone constantly. So that's a downside. Having no schedule. You're completely free to do whatever you want to do. You can do whatever the crap you want to do, which is super great. You know, when you're working 9 to 5 or, you know, I used to be in real estate, I worked my tail off and I felt very restricted. And when you are wild and free, it can make you feel like you have to come up with a schedule, especially if you have kids. So since I didn't have a schedule and there was so many options, we could go to any country, we could go anywhere we wanted at any time that we wanted. Sometimes it's good that some of your options are limited, are already made for you. It became a big decision fatigue issue, not in the beginning, but more towards the end. There was a lot of decision fatigue. I don't know, you know, I can't make decisions. Like I'm fresh out of decisions today. Can't make any decisions today. We're just constantly making decisions at the grocery store, constantly making decisions, you know, going out every day. I tried to get the kids out at least once a day. And that's the thing. If you don't, they're just, you know, they're on screens too much, or, you know, it's the same homeschooling issue, except for now you're in a different country. So a lot of world schoolers do have concerns that their kids are on screens too much. And the very minority few, some say, oh, my kids are just don't have screens at all and they're just wild and free and we're just always outside. And they'll literally spend 8 to 10 hours just outside. I'm not that kind of person. Like, and I need time like away from my kids to like recharge. And my olders need time away from my youngers, and my youngers need time to get their energy out. And my husband needs time to work. Sometimes it did feel like our condo was a little bit cramped. And it really wasn't a problem when we were there, but you're backpacking. We basically took a backpack and a carry-on suitcase, which is the smallest suitcase you can get. And then we could just get on and off airplanes without checking luggage. My husband insisted on this, and I will admit that I am glad that he did, because it really was the best option and we really didn't need more than a backpack and a carry-on suitcase. Which is weird because I almost feel like taking more of that when I go on vacation. But because it's only one season, you know, you don't need like a lot of clothes. You've got flip-flops, tank tops, shorts. We didn't have a lot of winter stuff, and so it was fine. Or dressy stuff. It's very casual in Southeast Asia. It's very casual. But backpacking is like really fun. You feel lighthearted. You feel like minimalist, and I'm more of a minimalist. You feel like you don't have that weight of all of the stuff. But there's a downside to that, is you get to places and they don't always have what you need. And you make it work, but making it work after, you know, after 15 months, we were like, okay, I'm ready to have I'm ready to have my nightstand that has my chapstick and my floss and my pair of scissors and my tape and my water and my coaster and my lamp. Most places you go don't have a lamp. I carried a lamp with me, it didn't work. It wasn't a good lamp. But, you know, at night, you don't want the overhead light on. When you're sitting in bed, you're reading or you're on your phone. Just like stuff like that. It's just been really nice coming back to. And I hope this is an encouragement to you, because I think a lot of people look at our journey and they say, oh, I wish I could do that. I can't do that. I can't afford to do that. Or I'm too tied down. Like, I have to work. I have a good job. I don't want to leave my job. And I would love for my kids to have that experience. And I would encourage you to continue to have that experience. But I would also want to encourage you that when I got back, I had this saying, like whenever I was traveling, I had this feeling that I appreciated just everything. Like, oh, that's new. How neat. Like, that's weird. That's neat because it's weird. Or that tastes, I don't like that taste, or I do like that taste, or I never would have tasted this if I hadn't. You know, you appreciate everything. Oh, look at the cars they have, or look at the taxis they have over here. It's like everything was new and exciting, but coming back, it was really nice to have all the comforts. It was nice to have my nightstand, and I just say that, a big refrigerator. It was nice to have big trash cans that we didn't like, the Every Airbnb we went in had a trash can in the kitchen that was like literally this big for a family of 6. We took the trash out a lot. Comforts like that. Oh, they have my makeup or my eye makeup remover or my lotion, or I didn't buy any clothes while I was over there because I didn't see any that I wanted, and I was always with my family. I didn't want to like shop with my family. 4 boys just like staring at me, and when I did, I just felt a lot of pressure. I couldn't make a decision. But I hope this is an encouragement. And lastly, I'll end with a few more things, but working and traveling is very difficult. And you almost need one partner that's going to hold it down so that the other partner can work. And trying to make online income was very difficult to build a business and travel and homeschool. Just like, oh, well, what's your desk going to be at this place that we are at? The boys all like to have a desk, and a lot of times it was a dining room table, but sometimes we would be in an Airbnb that didn't have a dining room table. And my husband, hopefully the Airbnb would have a desk, but sometimes it didn't have a desk. So he was at the dining room table, which made it hard for him to work. And sometimes there wasn't a desk for my olders who like to just stay in their room so that they can have some space from the twins. And it became a grind. There is a downside to it, and we had a wonderful time. It became a grind and a little bit of a burnout type situation. So we were like, I'm ready to be back. I'm ready to be stable. I'm ready to see my parents again. I'm ready to see my friends and family, my sisters, just have some decisions made for me. I wanted to have some decisions made for me. I wanted the kids to go to school so that I didn't have to constantly look up curriculum and look up things that they could do online for their schooling or books, or, for 4 different, it's 4 different boys, but 3 different grades. And also the school they're going to right now, they have breakfast and lunch there. And so all I have to do is figure out 1 meal per day. And then my husband's now back working 9 to 5 at a wonderful job. And for right now, that works for us. We're ready for community again. And that's the thing we knew would be a downside of world schooling is it's very hard to find community. It's hard to find a church. We did find churches, we did find communities, and we dove right in. And those were some of our favorite times. So if I had to give advice, and I was actually giving advice to someone earlier this morning, if I had to give advice to someone who was traveling, I'd say follow the community, find the community. I have a few communities that I would recommend that we met up with that are still traveling worldwide and that are free. But we're ready to be back in community and have the same friends for more than a month. And there was a few people we met in 2 or 3 different countries, world schoolers. And so that was really cool. I really, really loved that. And it was a breath of fresh air, and we loved hanging out with each other. I hope that gives you a better, more well-rounded aspect to world schooling. But it happens with anything in life, whether you decide to homeschool your kids, put your kids in public school or world school. I'm in so many Facebook groups where we're always having these conversations. There was somebody in one of my groups, and she was like, I've been world schooling my kids for 5.5 years now. They won't have the normal experience. And it's like, but think about all the upsides they've had. It's like you can't live both lives. You can live one life. And you get to pick, but you also pick the cons. You pick the pros and you pick the cons that go with it. And if those cons become too heavy, you can change, put them back in public school. That's what we're doing. And if that starts to not work, then we'll change. And that's one thing that we love about the fact that we sort of disengaged completely is we're not married to anything. We're not married to anything. We can, if something stops working, we don't have to just keep doing it. And I'm a big proponent of this. If something stops working, you don't have to keep doing it. You can change, you can iterate. And a lot of times the way you know is by going through it and trying it and being bold. And if you're going to travel full time, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You can't just sit there and think about it. If you've been thinking about world schooling for a very, very long time, like some of you that are following me, you may just have to try it and see. Go from there, decide. I thought that we would do it forever. And I noticed with other world schoolers, after they've been traveling about a year or year and a half, they'll settle down somewhere, but usually in a different country. And they'll do that for a little bit, and then they'll get the travel itches again, and they'll go again. So anyways, I hope this encourages you. Thank you for watching to the end. If you did, let me know. Will you tell me? I'm so curious to know what you think about this video, and also let me know what you learned out of this video. I want to know, like, what was surprising that I said in this video? Because to me, it's all very normal and things that I know. Was it good for you to know sort of the other side that doesn't get shown often? I hope you did. And I hope to do more videos like this, and I'll see you on the next one.